But we're still being recorded. I love
I
it. Yeah.
know, right?
I
Yeah,
want him to
don't.
clip this.
Right, yeah. we're the
I mean, I can
mid.
clip this if you want.
Yeah,
Please, please do.
we're the mid show entertainment
Yeah.
here.
Go, go ahead, do
It's
what you
just gonna
want.
be a dance session.
I'll make it a clip. I'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome to LOL starring Chris Smith, the best comedy show on Love to Be Radio. Why is that? It's just the only comedy show on Love to Be Radio. Guys, we have got some more special guests because they are the co-writers, co-directors, co-creators, even some of the voice actors of one of the biggest podcasts to hit in the last few years. It's already reached 1 million downloads. It's won numerous awards. It has been described by many, including me, as pretty much Murder She Wrote with a series of unfortunate events. It is the famous podcast, Death by Dying. I had the creators here, Evan Gulock and Nick Garantos, if I've got that name right, or Nick Garantos, Evan and Nick. Nice to see you both.
Hello, hello. You got it right the second time. Nico Gerentis. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, hi there. It's a
Hello,
pleasure to
hello.
be here.
Thank you for having us so much. Yeah.
I'm just going to say Evan and Nick. I'm so bad at the last names. Evan and Nick, welcome to the show. I guess we should probably start with, how did you two meet?
Oh, that is a great story.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
tag team it. So Evan, it starts with Evan.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny because we actually met because of the show. We were both attending Columbia College Chicago, and I created the pilot episode for Death by Dying for a class. And we had not yet met. And this was Gary Died, not the first official episode of season one, but this kind of it's a little it's a little more down and dirty. I was like recording in a study room in the Harold Washington Library in downtown Chicago, and just like snagging people off the street as voice actors. And it was for a class. I was kind of fulfilling assignments, and I wanted to add a creative spin to the setup of the class and the assignment. Once that episode was done, that teacher knew Nico. He who was the president of the audio drama club at Columbia College, which was a real thing.
Yes. It had been a thing a few years past, and it was lying dormant for a really long time. And I couldn't really decide on what to major in at Columbia. I was taking all these audio classes in different departments, and I was kind of slowly realizing I was crafting this fiction podcasting audio drama major through taking sound design classes and radio classes and certain things. So I had heard that the audio drama club had been a thing before, and I'm like, why aren't we doing this right now? We have all these talented people in this art school. We can pull from all the different disciplines, have this kind of cool club with screenwriters and voice actors and audio people. So yes, I resurrected it from the dead, and it's still going on to this day, which I'm super happy about. But yeah, Evan's teacher said, "Hey, this is kind of sounding like an audio drama. This guy Nico, who leads it, does all this stuff." Evan's teacher showed me the little bit that Evan had recorded already. And immediately I was like, I have no idea what I'm listening to, but I love it. Like the vibes were immaculate. The characters in the scenario was just so crazy. I was like, who is this man? I want to meet with him. And also, this was my senior year of college. And I thought to myself, man, I'd love to sink my teeth into a bigger project as I leave. I won't have these classes anymore. I won't have the audio drama club. So this might be a cool thing to collaborate on with someone as I'm kind of transitioning out.
Yeah, and so this teacher, his name is Matthew Cunningham. He was like, if you wanted to keep going with this and make it an actual show, we could set up like an independent study for next semester, and you could create that first season. And so Nico and I actually met on essentially a blind date at a coffee shop. We met. We were like, "Hey, I like your vibe," and we started working together, and now, we're best friends. So
Yes.
really crazy.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting vibe given the nature of the show, which is essentially a dark comedy. So, did you both sort of realize, like, oh, you have the same kind of weird, twisted humor that you both like?
It's really
Yes and
funny
no.
because Evan's always
Yeah.
been like the horror aficionado. I really didn't care for horror at all, but Evan's slowly gotten me more into it, and I've kind of realized the things, like the way in which I'm creative or the things that I love about certain pieces of media really lend themselves. They always say, like, if you can do comedy, you can do horror. There's that like big twist in that turn. So I think I quickly realized, oh, I like this a lot more than I thought. Like,
So I
and
converted him. I lured him into my world. But I think the sense of humor that we share and our sensibility is the affinity for the absurd and the goofiness. And we have this rule on the show that if one of us says something that makes us laugh, it has to go into the show. Like we
yeah,
have no choice. Like so, no matter how dumb it is, like if we throw something out there during the creative process and we crack up, it's like, all right, it's got to go in.
yeah.
So in that
Now you
sense,
have to
yeah.
give me an example.
Um,
Oh
wasn't
man.
the baloney line in Bound to Be or tins or was it the or tinsel?
Yeah. There's a line in the most recent episode
We rewrote it just
referencing.
because it was feeling a little clunky, and we were
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"How do we
yeah.
clean this up a little
So,
bit?"
this was the aftermath of half the graveyard blowing up because of previous adventures, and the main character, the obituary writer, is describing a limb hanging from a tree, and I think it was Nico who suggested, because I was like, it's draped over a tree like what? We're trying to come up with a good like OW-esque simile, and I think it was Nico who said like sliced bologna or discarded bologna, and it
Yeah,
was
but
like
I
it makes
said it to
zero
make
sense.
I said it to make Evan laugh. I didn't really mean to put it in, you know? So like, but then it's like,
But then it's
crap,
like, all
we
right, it's
just
got to
wrote
go
it,
in.
you know?
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like discarded bologna or tinsel, which
Yeah.
makes more sense, but
No, we'll also just to give everyone a warning, there will be spoilers for the for this show. So if you don't want to listen to that, then well, you picked the wrong show to listen to because we're going to get into it. But,
go
because a
listen to
lot,
the entire show right now and then come back
Come
to the
back. Yeah.
because yeah.
yeah, you got time.
Yes,
We'll
exactly.
also be try to be really mindful of saying spoiler alert. So,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
try. But yeah, we're just saying quotes. We're not actually saying the plot details. But
Right.
it's safe to say that yeah, a lot of the obituary writers' sayings are very much just like some of the most off-cut, like bizarre things. Would you like? What could we make him say that sounds so creepy and yet so delightful as well? It's just
Yeah.
like,
right.
is there a
Yeah, that
mindset of like how you write him, or is it just like, you know what, whatever's there, we'll think of it?
it's a bit of both. I mean, I do think there's a lot of intentionality that goes into the show, but we leave room for the spontaneity and for Nico playing us playing off of each other and that kind of thing. It's funny when I made Gary Died the pilot, he was a lot more straight laced, I guess I'd say. Like he was closer to that classic, you know, noir detective kind of just, talking really low and talking about mysterious things. And the more I wrote the obituary writer and the more I performed him, the more this personality that felt like outside of myself almost started coming in. I was like, oh, he's got opinions. and there started to be that little flair and that musicality that we've now really leaned into, that he has a certain cadence and he talks like this, and like that came, that sass and that rhythm, and his his kind of eye rolls, as one of our fans recently called it on social media, is like, oh, when he's kind of like rolling his eyes in a little like sassy way,
Or when
that came in
It's like the
throughout the process of making the
okay.
show. Yeah, right.
he gets very excited about fancy things, my Persian rug,
Right,
bam,
yeah.
like
And
it's
so that was
ooh.
like, I'd like to say in some way like a part of me started coming through, but it also just doesn't seem like me at all. And it was
Yeah,
just it was some other spirit that was just ready to be channeled through me. So
the spirit
I
of Crestfall.
yeah, so I feel very just accustomed to his voice now and his perspective, his opinions, and so that definitely informs a lot of, the ridiculous things that we have him say, which is just me
Let's
writing something and then forcing myself to have to say it later.
let's get into it fully, because I mean, if someone doesn't know what this show is about, let's just get into it.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
the Death by Die, the podcast, literally takes the sort of plot of the obituary writer, who is unnamed, but involves him sort of kind of investigating murders in the silent town of Crestfall, Idaho, that he bitterly doesn't want to be in. He doesn't like to be there, and yet is somehow, like Murder She Wrote, the most murderous town in the world because a lot of stuff just keeps happening there. But it's not. But like, how did the idea of this start? How did the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna do a quirky murder mystery detective show, sort of, in a Stephen King kind of universe? Where did the original idea come to be?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. The initial idea was so incredibly basic and didn't contain any of the whimsical, absurd elements that the show has now. It was really just the show was going to be called Obituaries, and each episode, the very first idea I had was the basic structure of the show, that each episode would be its own obituary about a fictional character, and that the episode would proceed to detail their life, and it would be almost more a la like the News from Lake Wobegon kind of Prairie Home Companion, if you've heard of that, just like very like small town dry humor vibes.
Mm.
But I think when I'm writing, I get bored very easily, and I start flavoring it with these strange things. And I like couldn't help myself that the supernatural elements started coming in and that kind of thing. I mean, Death by Dying really is a combination of like all of my favorite things starting from like childhood.
Mm.
I I was a huge nerd about Halloween. Like when I was a kid, I loved the holiday. I even got in trouble with my elementary school librarian once because I was only checking out spooky books. Like it was Goosebumps, and I didn't plan this. Scary stories to tell in the dark, and like
It's on his
like
desk, yeah.
that was, yeah, it's literally on my desk. But like that, so I loved spooky stuff, and I think that was like the gateway drug into horror later on in my life. And at the same time, I also really loved absurdist, dry British comedy. I was a huge fan of Terry Pratchett and his Discworld series, and
Oh
Douglas
yeah.
Adams with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I think that really influenced my sense of humor as I started growing up and that kind of thing. And I also, I grew up in a house full of murder mystery books and 1950s B movie creature features. Like that was my parents in a nutshell. Like our house is like a library, and so it was that synthesis of the goofy comedy, the kind of cozy, spooky vibe, and those small town murder mysteries. And so it was really more than anything else I've ever written. This was just okay. This is just all of my favorite things wrapped into one thing. And other than that, in terms of influences beyond that, it really did feel, and it's usually not like this when I'm writing stories. It very much felt like I turned my attention to this town and these characters that just already existed, and they were like, well, it's about time you looked over here. And it really was like it presented itself in this very organic manner, and I wish it was always that easy when I'm creating things, but for Death by Dying, it came together in this almost organic way.
Well, it says a lot that Evan, that's your baby, but then Nico, how did you sort of like? How did you find your place into it, or do you just sort of let Evan go into it, and you're just like, I'll just add my bit there, like that's me done.
Oh, no. No, for sure. I think, well, like Evan said, we met on that blind date and just really hit it off really quick. I think even aside from the podcast, we'd be friends. Like we have the same sense of humor, a lot of the same, like I want to say sensibilities when it comes to creativity, just like that idea of play and getting excited about things regardless of what they are. So I think where I come into the picture is I've kind of turned into this producer. I've always wanted to be a voice actor or a sound editor. I recently actually found in my old fourth grade yearbook, it said, when I grow up, I want to be, and I wrote in there from fourth grade, a sound editor because I watched the bonus features of Star Wars. So I've always been
Wow,
obsessed with sound, which is crazy. I
That's
recently
amazing.
found that I kind of want to frame it. It's nuts.
that
But
is a career path, my man.
I know
Yeah,
Ben.
and what's crazy is that I have something similar from my elementary school, and I said I wanted to be a writer. Here we
That's
are,
wild.
just like
Yeah.
making our childhood dreams come true
When you
together.
know, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you watch Ben Burt make the voice of R2D2 on a profit synthesizer, you're just like, I want to do
Oh wow,
that. So,
you went full into that. That's impressive.
yes. So I think I just kind of pour gasoline on the fire that is Evan. When I like heard Gary died, I'm like, more of this, more. Have you considered doing this? Or like we should do this, or oh, what if they sounded like this? And then that's when we start going back and forth and playing. So I'm kind of just this sounding board of Evan can say something, I could spit it back and be like, oh yeah, that'd be funny. We laugh, it stays, or we work on it, it keeps going. So I get a lot of enjoyment over that kind of producing process, like putting all the pieces of the puzzle together as well. So it's like I have the audio knowledge, very passionate about audio storytelling, but getting all the pieces of the puzzle together, making it all happen, making it all click is just so gratifying and satisfying for me. Just like it was in the audio drama club when we would do live radio shows every spring. So we'd have live Foley, we'd have some digital sound effects, we'd get everybody on stage together. And when it all works, it's just magic. There's nothing else like it. So that's the part that I just really love.
Yeah,
So
so I think
what?
we trade hats a lot in terms of the
Yeah.
creative process. So it's like this constant feedback loop of, until we're basically hyping each other up into the most absurd version of the story, but also the one that works the best. That's the
Because
yeah.
we kind of realized after season one, we were crediting each other for all the individual things that we did. And then it kind of just all mushed together to where we're like, let's just say created by Evan Gulak and Nico Tarentis at this point. Cause like, Evan will write the episodes and then say, Nico, read them. And then I'll give notes. And then in the post production process, I'll, have a scene or we'll talk about crafting a scene together. And then I push it back to Evan and he gives notes on that, so it's like, where are the lines on what we do at this point
Yeah.
together? So collaborative.
No, it's a pure creative process
Yeah.
that's absolutely adored. But I mean, it's one thing. It's one thing to produce and create an audio fiction podcast, which I love. It's another to create it and also be the main star in it, which is one where people have to think like when you're writing it or co-writing it, it's just like, oh, this is great. Oh wait, I have to say this, don't I?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, in terms of me playing the obituary writer, it really started out of convenience. I mean, because I was creating it for a class, and so it was easiest for me to just like it's like, all right, I'm doing it myself. Like I'm available at any time of day with myself. So like I
I mean,
can
was there a
go
sense
and
like
record
you
that.
wanted to do it, or was there a sense of like, oh, well, if no one's gonna do it, I'll do it?
It was, I think it was a bit of both. I mean, like I think I had a strong sense of who the character was, even as he evolved over time. And I do really enjoy it. It's certainly not a chore for me. I love that part of the process, and Nico directs me in terms of my performance, and so that's a fun dynamic to be able to have that second set of ears from someone who knows the show so well, so he's able to like, give me direction and that kind of thing. So yeah, sometimes it's funny playing the main character because I we've been doing this for so long that I kind of distance myself from it. Like I really do think about OW as separate from me. I'm not like when we're working on the show itself and we're uh, crafting post production and the edit and everything, I'm like, that's OW. That's not me anymore. Like that's a completely different person. And so it's very practical in that way where now I'm looking at it as what's this final piece of art that we're creating. So it's really just it's a means to an end, but it is very fun.
And there's one thing for you, Evan, to say, but Benika, when you read through these scripts, do you imagine Evan rating this, or do you have to imagine, okay, this is not him, this is the bitch, this is OW saying this?
When I give feedback sometimes and I get really into it, I start saying, "Oh yeah, in this scene when Evan talks to Charlotte, I like it blurs in my head because it's Evan's voice, but it is the obituary writer. He has such a big personality, he has such a, presence. So it's just so funny, but I always hear it's such an iconic voice. Like Evan crafted that so well, and I love being able to guide that and punch it up or make it, help make OW what he is.
Yeah, and it's funny too because there are parts of me that I do see in OW, but I'm in general like I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy. I'm like I'm like fairly laid back. I mean, like what you're getting right now is kind of what you get, you know? Like I'm
What are you talking
and
about?
then
You investigate murder like every day.
oh yeah, well there's that, but you know, it's more of a
You
hobby.
do with
Uh
supernatural stuff all the time.
right, yeah. No, it's you know, it's that's just recreational though. It's not for my job. But yeah, the obituary writer like has so much more of like a, you know, like this presence and everything. So, but it's something that I'm able to step into very naturally now, I think.
I mean, did you actually have to look up how do people write obituaries and be like, oh damn, how does someone actually write this thing? You know,
No. I don't think I gave it a thought for a second of how obituaries were supposed to look. I had the general sense of they start with the name and the age, and that's when it stopped being realistic. It was like I always knew it was gonna go off the rails, that this was a story that we were telling, and the obituary writer who was writing it is very much unreliable and prone to tangents. And so, yeah, it's really just his own secret sauce.
fair enough. I mean, a lot of goes into sort of writing a fiction podcast, especially of what I've noticed with a lot of them is that making it sort of understand, making the audience understand what is supposed to be seen, especially with supernatural
hmm
stuff, is hard because a lot of it's visual, a lot of it's like this body looks so spectacularly good. How in God's name are we supposed to make this audio? Like, what are we supposed to do here? It's like, is there?
100%.
I mean, I know you're an audio major, but it's like, have you had trouble like, how do I make sure like this sounds or describes what I want it to look like?
I'm very fortunate that my whole kind of writing background has strictly been writing for the ear because of all the classes that I've taken. So it's almost like I don't know how to do it any other way. I don't really I think about the visuals in my head, not on the screen. So I think so often screenwriters will rely on the face of the actor when we don't have that here. We need to hear it in your voice. It has to be believable. I have to believe that this person is super duper sad, really, really excited, really, really scared. And you're kind of planting that seed inception style in their head to navigate, hey, this is what I want you to see, but that environment and area, or you know, the town of Crestfall looks different for everyone. How the obituary writer looks seems different, but if you look at all of the fan art that we have, there's similarities, there's through lines. You know that that's the obituary writer, you know that's Charlotte, you know that's the angel of death. um and that's the cool part. And I think writing, there's this really funny audio drama called The Gun in My Right Hand, which is loaded, which kind of tells you how to not write for an audio drama by being so literal about everything, because people don't
And
talk that way.
yeah, it's spoon feeding
You know, I'm
you
putting
know.
my cup on the desk, which is filled with coffee, you know, versus
Yeah, it's very cool how much the element of suggestion, it's just very powerful. And you know, I always tell people who are maybe early on in the process of creating an audio drama that you can trust your audience to fill in the blanks. Like you create the space, and you know, the listener's imagination fills in the rest. But you don't need to break everything down in this very you know, over descriptive way. So creating those environments is this unique challenge that I think we really enjoy.
And I think
I
some of
mean,
the lines initially that I had smoothed out from season one as well, because Evan loves, I mean, he reads so many books, he loves writing. Some of them were, I was like, okay, these couple lines would sound great if they were in a book, but people don't talk this way. Right. So like,
Mhm.
let's dirty it up a little bit, dirty up the take, have them say, I'm not too sure if we should do that. You know, just have these weird little things, because then people will talk more naturally instead of it being so, the language being so nice, kind of rough it up, you know, and that's what'll kind of get you to feel what that character's feeling. If they're like, oh, they're stumbling over their speech, or they're, you know, slurring their words a little bit, there's things behind the voice acting performance that can get you to be like, this person's very uncomfortable right now.
And it's the same thing with sound design, you know, like I'm thinking of this example. It's in one of our bonus episodes. And there's this girl who's slowly kind of being possessed, and so she's very out of it. And she's there's this scene early in the morning. Her father is with her in the kitchen, and she's pouring a glass of orange juice. And the thing we're trying to communicate is she's very zoned out. She's pouring the orange juice, and she overflows the cup and spills it, right? So one way you could do it is, like, Violet, you spilled your orange juice. Don't do that, right? And like explain what's happening. But instead, what we did, and this is where like the sound design element comes in, her father's voice, it's muffled, it's muted, it's distant. You hear the
Mm.
pouring of the cup. Then the father's voice starts to come in more. We hear the cup knock over, spill onto the floor, the sound of the glass against ceramic, the sound of liquid spilling, and then her father's
Reaction. Oh,
finally
sorry.
her reaction, and then the father's voice finally coming in completely clear and saying like, Violet, be careful, like, and that's enough. You know what's happening in that scene. So,
Yeah, you let the audience fill in the blanks.
hmm
Yeah,
But
yeah,
by
I mean,
able like because you don't have the visual and you have to rely on the audio, that's where audio effects come in, like Evan said, that muffled voice being slow, coming in more, giving you that feeling of, hey, come to, come to, come to, boom. Now we're back in reality.
yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it a bit later in terms of episodes, but just like, has there been a particular scene in one of the episodes where it's just like, oh, this is really hard to describe?
Hmm.
That's a
I
great question.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal question. I think there have been moments where I've maybe wanted to describe more, but in the end it was more effective to not.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or it's more interesting to leave it up to the listener. For example, we do say a little bit about what uh, I don't think this is really a spoiler, but the Angel of Death herself is in this show, and we describe her a little bit, but then we just kind of leave it at that. And it's some of our most stunning fan art that we've received is our listeners, their level of creativity in crafting what they think the Angel of Death's uh, visage looks like, and her appearance. And so that's I've had to learn. It was a learning curve for me to kind of let go, and let it almost be a bit of a collaboration between multiple imaginations to visualize this world in a way that's unique to each listener.
I mean, yeah, let's get into that a little bit because the first episode you don't really get a lot of that. It is just sort of it's a simple. This is who he is. This is what he does. This is the kind of setup where you think, oh, okay, I know what this is going to be. And then the second episode is like, oh yeah, he's also happens to be friends with the Angel of Death, a thing which you don't even go into and don't explain afterwards. I'm like, how? Why? It's just like, okay, we'll just get into that. Fine, But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like, was that just a throne, or was that always something where you were just going to be like, no, he's lonely. Oh, except for this angel that he happens to like,
I love the way you're even describing it right now because that's the vibe of the show. Oh yeah, this is normal. Like I hang out with
Hmm.
the Angel of Death. The butcher has a pet goat. Crestfall
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I think we like this sense of matter of factness that we'll lob you a curveball, but we're not gonna make it sound like it's anything but normal because in this world it is.
I mean, yeah,
And
there's loads of stuff. There are bikes that are haunted by like ghosts. There are like nuns that will like they're evil or something. Like there's a support group that are evil. They'll try to do memories. There's a house that for some reason will just like try and kill. It's just like, but a lot of it is just like, yeah, deal with it. It's just like that. Just like,
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
town of
exactly.
Crestfall. You should
That's
stop
yeah,
by
yeah,
sometime.
that's uh
It's
very
crazy.
much a crux of the show is just like, look, it's crazy, but we're never ever going to acknowledge that it's crazy.
And what I also love about the show, Evans had said before, where we kind of relate, is that level of absurdity. And everything that's happening in the town can be as absurd as possible, but at the end of the day, what grounds all of the characters in the story is, the topics that we talk about. It's very heavy, deals with grief. It deals with real emotions. It deals with the loss of friends, trying to find your way through different things in life. Like, and that's where I love how you said the first episode is just like, okay, quirky little town. Second episode, ooh, there's some spooky stuff in this. The third episode, you're just like, oh, there's some real spooky stuff in this. The fourth one,
yeah.
you're kind of like, wait, what's going on? And then the fifth one, you're crying.
Yeah,
and
so
Yeah,
there's this
and
like
you don't know
ramp
what
up.
happened.
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
this
it's a
emotional
weird
roller
roller
coaster.
coaster you put me on. Where I was just like, oh,
Yeah,
I know what
yeah,
this is. Oh, I kind of know what this is. Oh, I really don't know what this is. Why am I crying now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And that
Well, I think like what we always kind of imagined is Crestfall is a comedic world, but it's populated by real people.
right.
And so when they have emotional reactions to things, when they experience genuine loss, they're still going to react in a way that feels like how you and I would, you know? So it is trying to find that balance between the horror, the comedy, but still speaking to some kind of universal thematic truths and the human experience and real emotion.
You know what's
Let's
funny?
get.
I was about to say except for Gert, but even at the end, I won't spoil a lot of stuff. But even at Gert's end here, he's so like proud and he's so confident and he so even those characters, even the craziest characters, you can feel like, wow, you have purpose. You did this because you care, you know?
Yeah, and they're like they're
So
sincere. I mean,
cool.
that's the thing. Even Gert, like he says some of the in my opinion, funniest lines in the show where I just
Yeah.
lose it because of the voice actor Tucker Ramsher's performance. But I think we always try to commit. Like we are committing to the bit, the character, lean all the way in. So even the silliest characters start to feel really sincere, and I think that makes it even funnier.
Let's get into a little bit more. This is like blending comedy and horror, a subject which, like you said, if you know comedy, then you definitely know horror because some of the best horror stories out there are written by comedians in the most strange sense of the word. But how difficult is it to make sure that there's an even blend of the two without it becoming like a spoof or something? Because that has happened before. It's like people think, oh, this isn't supposed to be scary. It's funny, but it's like if comedy horror does need to be sort of terrifying. So how do you balance that?
Yeah,
Ooh,
it is a very delicate balance, and it's a lot of it's a unique challenge to kind of play with. I think what's interesting is that, you know, they're comedy and horror are very similar in certain ways. Like, for example, in horror, you have tension and then a jump scare, right? And in comedy, you have a setup and a punchline. And they're in both, you are creating tension and then you are releasing it. And so they complement each other in that way, but they have very direct opposites as well, where you have horror, which is so incredibly visceral. And one of the reasons that I love horror so much is because no other genre gets as visceral and tangible and uh, you know, just really getting to the heart of facing very real problems in a way that is just very impactful. And so I think that's very cool. It forces you to confront your fears in a very direct way, whereas comedy, it can be very healing. It can make you feel at ease. So there's this interesting balance that I think you put it well. It's like how do you find the right balance of the two, that the comedy doesn't undercut when you feel some genuine horror, that it doesn't diffuse that, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, and like, oh God, and then but the horror doesn't undercut your enjoyment of the humor.
and I love
I
the
mean,
way I'm thinking about the first episode of season 2 where the obituary writer's going into the graveyard and Walter Grimsley, the graveyard groundskeeper,
yes.
um, sees him and and there's these deer in Crestfall that are completely deranged and nuts and kind
Oh
of a
god,
threat.
the deer just freaked me out as soon as I heard it. I was just like, okay, that's deers that scream like men. That's
So
fine. That's okay.
automatically right now you have this scenario, this absurd scenario where a graveyard groundskeeper has this ancient historical feud with these deer in Crestfall, and the obituary writer is, and the graveyard groundskeeper is coming at him with a crossbow because he thinks he might be a deer. And we amp up that tension so much. He's hopping over gravestones and trying to find a safe place to hide, and you hear the crossbow and you hear the graveyard groundskeeper steps, and then he's telling about the whole story and what happened, and I feel it every time I listen to it of like, we gotta hide. Like, is he gonna get him? I don't know. And the stakes are just so high and the tension's there. But like you zoom out, it's like crazy deer in a graveyard. And
It is a little
OW
bit
has
like
this crazy mission, but you're still feeling it. You're feeling all of it. I think it's so great that balance of, you know, like you said, the comedy and the horror is there and they lend it's so funny how they both go hand in hand. But Evan, you put it beautifully as to how. So
Yeah, I really think it's about timing in a lot of ways. It's
mm,
that dance back and forth between them. I think it's leaning full throttle into both of them because if you don't hold back on either genre, then they're only going to amplify each other.
and there's moments too where you can know when there's the turn of we're going into you know, creepy nun territory, it's about to get real, but then we'll give you a little cheeky joke here, but then switch back to the horror. It's like we still got you, but prepare to go on the roller coaster. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
no, because I love it because I love it. It's just like yeah, it like tense moments, and then when you pull out, but then when you go out of it, especially with season 2, episode 1, you just be like, this is a real tense situation. But then you go out of it, it's just like, wait, am I actually just scared of like deranged deer and a grave digger? Because like, okay, I guess I'll do that.
Yeah, you almost catch yourself and you're like, "Wait, am I taking this seriously right now?"
Yeah, like I
Gotta get
shouldn't be
out of
scared
there.
of this, but okay, I guess I am.
Yeah.
Like, is there any idea or any are there any sort of ideas of episodes that you've done that you have collaborated on that you're thinking like right now, like, oh, if we do that, we can't do that. That's too scary, or that's too silly.
Ooh, wow, that's a great
I
question.
I like pushing the
Yeah.
horror because I like dancing between the horror and the comedy. I really like leaning into it, and I feel like we did on Whispers from the Quarry, where how intense. That's a side story.
Mm.
So in the world of Crestfall, how intense that episode gets, and the themes playing off of Violet's mother, and um, even Ned, one of the characters, he has his dad disowned him because he's allergic to jazz. And
Oh, oh yeah, like you,
but but
that's a weird thing just to be like, okay, yeah.
but it really affected him and his relationship with his father and that dynamic. So even if it's like one small thing
And then his
that's so
father's
absurd.
Yeah, and then his father's literally like his dead father is rising out of the water playing a saxophone. But then when his father talks, he's like genuinely horrifying. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this feels messed up.
But what's relatable in that feeling is if you've ever felt not accepted by your family, if you've ever felt not accepted by someone you love, that is still there underneath this allergy to jazz, you know? And so it's still being conveyed. And I love dancing that, like I said, dancing that line because it still comes through with something so crazy. And I think Death by Dying in a way, that's what makes it feel safe for people to maybe process some of those emotions. We've gotten some amazing fan mail from people, especially during the pandemic, of saying how much the show helped them during that time, through helped them through the loss of a loved one. And again, we're talking about jazz allergies, deranged deer, spirits and bicycles, button-eyed ravens. You know, like the list can go
Oh
on and on
god,
and
yeah.
on. But it still has impacted people and said, "Hey, this helped me process the loss of a family member recently, and thank you for making me smile and making me like grieve." And I broke down crying when I read that email because I was like, "This was a college project. I didn't mean to do this."
I mean, we should talk about that a little bit. I mean, Death by Daylight came out in 2019, 2020, 19?
2018.
2018 was the
18,
first
that's it.
season. Yeah.
See, it came out a while ago, but it came out. It blows up everywhere. It hits like a million streams. It wins a ton of awards. And like you said, it's a college project where it's just like, what was the immediate response when you heard the feedback of like, oh, people are actually going to listen to this?
It was so funny because Evan and I were just really focused on we just want to make this thing and figure out how iTunes works and put it up onto Apple Podcasts. Like even that was like a how do we do this, you know? Figured it out. We high-fived, uploaded the last episode of season 1 and then kind of stepped away from it for a little bit. Um you know, I had graduated college and I was looking to move to Los Angeles to pursue voice acting and everything.
And I
And
still had one more year.
Evan still had one more year of college. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's continue life good job, friend. Good job, you. Woo.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's funny too, just to add a quick little tidbit as well. I was also like focused on saving my grade because I almost failed the class that I was making Death by Dying in because
Really?
I it was the independent study where I was making the first full season, and I didn't finish the show in that semester that it was supposed to be completed in, because what I was doing was just it was juggling a lot of different cast, the sound design. It was, it's only 5 episodes, but in terms of making it just in a couple months, it was fairly ambitious. And that's where Nico really swooped in and we were able to pull it together. But so like, God bless Matthew Cunningham, the teacher for the independent study. He said, "I'm going to give you a C because you did not finish this. But if you do finish it and you put it out there, I will change it to an A." And so Nico and I spent that summer actually finishing it and pulling it all together. It came out that fall, and it saved my grade. So like those were the kinds of things we were thinking about,
and I ended up, so like I had said, I was struggling to pick classes to major in because I was kind of cherry picking all these classes. I didn't want to do the regular film sound design track because I really didn't care about live action. I cared about learning about sound effects and voiceover recording. And then in the radio department, I didn't want to be on air on the radio. I didn't really care about talking about music and stuff. But what I wanted to know was how to write for the ear. We had some audio drama courses as well. I wanted to take those. And then the other department was audio arts and acoustics, where they have all the outboard gear like EQs, compressors to record bands, but I was like, I don't want to record bands. I want to learn how to use the gear. I want to learn how to like do cool stuff with audio. So I noticed I was just taking all these classes and not fulfilling any degree requirements. And the clock was ticking. So I was like, oh no, I need to get I went to college. I need to graduate. I really feel like I claimed my education. I was learning. I was taking all the classes I wanted to at the school. But I was like, I need to fulfill requirements. So I ended up pitching an interdisciplinary major saying, hey, this is how all the classes that I'm taking are connected. And I feel like I essentially majored in fiction podcasting. That's my major between all those classes. So I call Death by Dying my unofficial college thesis. It is everything that I learned in school into one project.
So then we put it out there, yeah, and like Nico said, we high five and we kind of start moving on in a way where we were like, yeah, maybe we'd make more of it, but we weren't really thinking too much about that. We were focusing on other parts of our lives, and we received some feedback. I mean, we were thrilled when we got 20 downloads in a day, and we were like, holy, oh my God, the 20 people listen to
Yeah.
our show. And we were getting a little bit of feedback on Twitter, but a lot of Twitter at that time were just fellow podcast creators, and it was great to be able to connect with that community. But we hadn't really felt like, are we reaching like any kind of like proper fan base or audience? Don't really know. And then I randomly had the thought of checking Tumblr, and I hadn't been on Tumblr since like 2013. But
And this
then
was like Evan 6 months after the show came out, right? Like a couple
no, no,
months
no,
after.
no. It was still it was just a couple months. I
Okay,
think
okay, okay.
it was if the last episode came out on Halloween, this was maybe in December that I was
Okay,
looking
okay.
at this, and uh checking the tags on Tumblr, and it was like, oh, that's where everybody is. And Nico and I were like mystified. We're looking at fan art and people making jokes about the show and theorizing, and we were like, oh, people are actually like
Yeah, this is a
paying
thing.
attention. And so we really leaned into that where it's like, okay, if a lot of our fans are on Tumblr, we're going on Tumblr, and I'm going to run our Tumblr account like it's the obituary writer's Tumblr account, so that fans can continue engaging with the show like they're talking to the characters. And so I think, in terms of how we've grown over the years, part of that has been the word of mouth of creating this extra element outside of the show that fans can continue engaging with.
And it's kind
Um,
of a meme on Tumblr now that the one podcast who will always see your post, always respond to you is the obituary writer from Death by Dying. Like,
like no matter if you even like try and hide it, like I'm not even gonna put the Death by Dying tags on there. They're like they're gonna
we're
find
gonna
you.
find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little
And
bit like, oh, I'll just do this. I was like, they're never going to see this. Oh, damn, they saw it and put it on the tag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
And it's
mean,
just so great to see people freak out and be like, "Oh my god, you responded," like, "Of course we
so
did. You listened to our show. Thank you." Like,
yeah, so it's
I'm
been
just
a very trippy process of then discovering how many people it's continued to reach from where it started.
I just find it funny that now, like, of all the social media platforms the obituary has, the one he uses the most is Tumblr. Just like,
which is
I think it checks out.
which
I
might
think
as well be canon, yeah.
yeah, I feel like he's a 13-year-old emo girl at heart. And I I think it explains a lot.
what do you want to say about that, Evan?
I
Like,
that's I said what I said.
but so let's get to that slightly. So the fandom out there is massive, especially on Tumblr. But with a lot of these, there also comes fan art, which is strange when it's audio, and like you say, you don't necessarily have pictures. But did you have a mindset of what these characters looked like in your head?
I mean, sure. I think we've had our own uh, sort of vision of what they look like. Uh, but every time I see a new iteration of a character, whether it's the obituary writer, or it's the butcher, or it's Pastor Jeff,
Charlotte. I love
Charlotte,
Charlotte. I love Charlotte
I love
arcs.
them all, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, also that one.
And
I
is that
like
thing where it's
the
like
Feels like a
you've seen art, and then it's like, oh, that's how they see them.
yeah,
yeah, oh,
sometimes
definitely.
I'm surprised by how someone depicts him, but then I'm like, you know what? I also believe that. I'm never going to say that's not what he looks like because I like leaving that freedom for people to just project onto him a little bit and come up with their own versions and I'm just like however you think he looks, that's how he looks. Run with it.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
like I said, you can get someone can listen to the podcast. You can get 100 people to make art, and you'll know that's the obituary writer, that's the butcher, because there's just enough detail to put it together. But then, everyone's skin color can be different, their hair color could be different, what they're wearing could be a little different, but that's who that character is, and I think that is so beautiful and awesome, and it just makes me so happy. I think one of the fan arts that I saw of Charlotte recently, someone said, "I tried to make her hair and her bun look like a peach." And I was like, "I love that. That's so good."
No, it was amazing. It wasn't just that. It was they made the bun look like a peach, and then she had two strands of hair come down, and they made those look like walrus tusks. And so
I
they
didn't
like
even. Oh,
whoa.
it's just so clever, right? Like they're taking the elements that we're giving them from the show. She loves peaches. She writes walrus haikus, and then they're implementing them into the character design. And I'm like, amazing. I love
beautiful.
it.
Keep going. Yeah.
I mean, but is there another for which a lot of other podcasts do? Have any of the obituary writers' fan art looked like you?
Oh, I'd say yeah.
You think?
I think so.
I think usually not
Not your
really.
not your beautiful curly hair, but I
Sure,
think there's
yeah.
a an Evan vibe in there that I'm always like, I see Evan.
I've never pictured the obituary writers having that kind of long hair, but it'd be real interesting
Right.
if you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not the curly hair, but I guess you're right. Yeah, in other ways, I think it does still kind of have a certain vibe
I think it gives
of
it vibe.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny.
I like how you're like, no, me? Couldn't be I. Yeah.
No.
Was there a bit of an ego check with both of you to be like, oh, this is a college project, we had to pass it, and then suddenly it does blow up, it does win awards at some point. Was there a little bit of like a, we need to check ourselves, like this is okay, or not going to be like, yes, I'm the one in charge, I'm the master writer of this place, or like I'm the one who majored in fiction podcast, this is my thing.
Well, Evan has always stayed very humble, and I think I was the one a little early on who had a little bit of an ego, who was like, I majored in this in college, da 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 da, and I'd listen to some other fiction podcasts and go, oh, like they should have done this, blah blah blah. I was a big stickler, but then there, what helped me like relax, Nico? What helped me do that? We went to a podcast convention in 2019 in Seattle, and I started meeting people face to face, and I just got so excited and just so in awe of, like, these people are like us. They're just wanting to make cool stuff. And regardless of the level that you're doing it at, if you have the fanciest equipment in the world or you're just using an iPhone, we all share that love of wanting to create something. We all share that love of storytelling, and we're all very similar people with our oddities and quirks and, just
And
wanting
the
to
level
be
of
in this medium.
creativity.
the level of
Yeah.
creativity's through the roof. So after that, I kind of hung my head low and was like, yeah, Evan, I'm sorry. Like I checked myself. I was like, you're right. I gotta slow my roll a little bit.
I mean,
Uh,
man who majored in fiction podcasts, were there any particular fiction podcasts at the time where you were like obsessed with?
Ironic thing is, I didn't really listen to that many fiction podcasts. The only one I was really exposed to was Cabin Pressure through a friend of mine.
Oh,
Um, and that is with Benedict Cumberbatch. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's about a flight crew, and there's 26 episodes, and for each letter of the alphabet, they go to a different place. Like the first one's Abu Dhabi, the second one
oh
begins
no,
with
I
B.
do know. So I was trying to think like, I should know this
So
because yeah,
and that isn't too particularly sound design heavy at all. It's very narrative driven. It's almost it could be a play,
yeah. I
but
think it's
Yeah,
it's a radio play or something like on
yeah,
over
but
here.
yeah,
I
it's
would
kind of like almost structured like a sitcom too, you know?
exactly, but I would cry laugh at this thing. It was so funny. So I didn't really have exposure to fiction podcasts. My background and everything, I play video games. I log all it's like story-based games ever since I was little. I've logged all the games I've played. I've seen the credits of over 500 individual video games, and I just love video game culture. Have always been obsessed with Nintendo, PlayStation, knowing what's going on in the gaming world, and a lot of how I feel like I've expressed storytelling or learned about storytelling is through playing video games and how those stories have made me feel. And one of the things I love too about games is you are controlling a character. Let's say you're playing Uncharted. The main character is Nathan Drake. If I'm telling Evan about a mission that I was on, I never say, "Oh yeah, and then Nathan Drake climbed this mountain." You say, "And then I climbed this mountain." And that
Ah,
is so powerful to me. And that is like part of what I try to bring into storytelling in the creative process as well, being like, I want you to be on that ride with the obituary writer, with an active part of hearing the story go on. And what helps that is I call the obituary writer an active narrator. He's watching things happen as they unfold. He's not just telling them, or he kind of has an opinion about them as he's talking about them. That dress looked nice. You know, I suppose,
Yeah,
there's
and
something underneath that. Yeah.
and it's interesting because his narration is in the past tense, but the performance we always make sure feels like present tense.
He's
So
reacting with the
yeah,
listener.
he's exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
because
yeah,
you do go sort of sense like the way you structured. He's retelling the in the obituary what is actually there, which makes it sound like it's a 3-page obituary of this one person. But like,
Even in the graveyard scene, he'll go, I crept low. I would tell Evan, get
right,
quieter.
right, right. It's like we're sneaking, right?
We're
Yeah, yeah,
hiding.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, you know what's funny just on the note of like any podcasts that we were already listening to before we made it, kind of a common thing that I heard in that because there was kind of this wave of fiction podcasts that came out around 2018.
Mhm.
There was initial wave that happened years before, and that's where we got like Welcome to Night Vale, and we got the Bright Sessions, and then
yeah,
there was this new wave around 2018. And something there was kind of this running joke with other creators that I talked to that we all independently thought we had invented audio drama because we were just in our little silos and we found the audio medium, fell in love with it, wanted to tell creative fiction stories. And then once we created the show, we found out, oh, there are a bunch of other people also doing this. That's amazing. And so I really also did not listen to that many before we created Death by Dying. I listened to the horror anthology podcast Creepy, uh, so I liked listening to little one-off like horror stories and that kind of thing. But I really didn't get into listening to more shows until we started becoming more integrated into the existing community of creators.
And I think I learned about audio drama through the classes that I had taken, and this crazy audio professor who I'm still a very dear friend to me now is George Czar. And he had made a lot of audio dramas for the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, and he really knew what he was doing. He's directed live audio drama before and everything, and I was learning from him. And I think that was learning about that medium made everything click for me. I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about the live action part of it or the visual part. Like I can have fun with that type of storytelling, and I can make things as crazy as I want them to be, like animation. the sky's the limit. So I had just kind of stumbled across, ooh, audio drama is a thing, and yeah, we could still do it. Why not? So that's where I kind of fell in love with the process and learned about it.
No, absolutely love that. All right, so we're gonna go to an ad break now for about 5 minutes, everyone, and then so we're gonna dive more into like the actual nooks and crannies of the show in terms of following characters in the second part. So if there are any spoilers, which there probably will be, we'll try our best to sort of be as vague as possible, but also try and cater to the fans because that's the reason why you're listening to this. So go grab a drink, go grab a snack, guys, and we'll see you in approximately 5 minutes. And then, well, there's nothing else but have some fun. See you in a bit. Hey guys, welcome back to LOL starring Chris Smith, the best comedy show on Love to Be Radio. I am still joined by the lovely co-creators and writers of Death by Dying podcast, Evan and Nico. Nice to have you both on there. So, we're going to dive into a little bit more about the show and its details. So, if anybody has, there will be spoilers in this as much as we can. Well, it's not much as we can, but like, if you don't want to listen to this, then pause this, wherever this is, and then go listen to the entire show and then come back. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
we're
gonna
gonna
do that.
say as many spoilers as possible. We're gonna try and break a world record
As
here.
fast as we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing we probably should get involved a little bit because we didn't mention it at the start, we will mention it now. Season 1 happened in 2018, and season 2 is out 6 years later. Any particular reason why there's a bit of a long gap?
Welcome to the world of indie fiction podcasts and its lovely trials and tribulations.
Yeah, because even then, right? Like some of season 2 is out. we're still in the process of it, right? It's so many different elements, and the past 7 years have been such a roller coaster in a lot of different ways. To start, I mean, you have to imagine when we made season 1, I was 21, still in college, and Nico was 23 and about to move across the country to LA.
And
And
so when we had done season 1, we definitely had the time for it. Evan had the structure of the independent study class. This was a project that I was making time for. I had school and then Death by Dying. That was like my main focus.
and we had access to the school's equipment, like the
Yes.
recording studio, all of that we were able to use.
Yeah.
And then, I think the way that the show has grown over the years and, amassed all these people who are very eager to hear more of it, and I'm so grateful for that. So much was going on in the background. We don't pay our bills and our rent from this show. So Nico and I both have full-time jobs. We were gradually becoming the adult version of ourselves. We went through basically the majority of our 20s like while this show was growing, and we were trying to still, put out some bonus episodes while we were planning season 2. And season 2 is definitely, I'll admit, it's more ambitious. I wrote,
A lot more ambitious.
yeah, I wrote longer scripts. It's a wider cast. It's heavy on the
Sound
sound
design is
design.
crazy.
We wanted season 2 to feel bigger, badder, better. Like this is Death by Dying, the action movie. like make it feel cinematic and everything. And at no point have we ever really wanted to compromise on our vision for that.
Right.
But in the meantime, the sacrifice of that is time, just being able to dedicate enough time to the show while our careers are moving on, like our personal life things are going on, and so many different things. And we've both struggled with some mental and physical health issues and that kind of thing, and we were navigating that, and that was, I'll only speak for my part, but it's just particularly challenging, and
And
we're glad
especially
to.
during a global pandemic as well. That
And
doesn't
then the
help
pandemic hit,
either.
yeah, and
That was the thing.
I
that
also had
completely
to
undermined the process. Yeah.
I moved back home for a little bit because my job became remote in LA. So I thought to myself, I'll just put all my stuff in storage. My landlord had also kicked us out of our apartment because they wanted to jack up rent. And then they said, if you can't pay it, leave. And that was a
Mm.
crazy thing. And so I was just like, you know what? Pandemic's going on. This is too crazy. I'm gonna go back to Chicago, hang out with my folks for a couple months. It ended up being way longer than I had anticipated. So it's just, life coming at you and things being super crazy amidst
And we're
trying to
just and
figure
we're
out
just
personal life, job,
yeah.
and now podcast.
And we're just two guys, right? We do not have a larger team here. So between pre-production to post, writing, recording, directing, voice acting, post-production, the sound design, it's been primarily Nico and I this entire time.
Yep.
And so it's very involved, and we, so many
Even
things
for
that.
the editing before, we were not hiring outside dialogue editors or anyone. It was Evan and I doing the whole thing together.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like we become a part of the Fable and Folly network, which was an amazing opportunity. And we raised, $15,000 for season two, that was like kind of a wake-up call in a good way of like, oh, people are like showing up for this show. They're very excited.
Mm.
And we doubled what we asked for in that fundraiser. And now here we have a budget that makes so much more possible in terms of us actually being able to pay ourselves a little bit for all of the work that we do for like the first time ever, able to actually pay our cast in something other than lunches, but actually fair
Yeah.
rates.
Yeah.
And
Oh
and
God.
it opens so many doors, but we're swamped in the rest of our lives and figuring out what that's going to look like. And people have, very politely, I'm grateful for how kind our fan base is, but people are like, where's the rest of the show? And I've
Yeah.
always wanted to be able to say, that like we have been working on it this whole time,
Yes.
and it's been slow going at times, right?
There's
And
periods where
sometimes it'll
I
pick
fly to
up.
Michigan. Yeah, there's periods where I fly to Michigan where Evan is, and we're working on it for a couple weeks or a month or so. There's times when Evan comes out here, we collaborate virtually, but that's also another thing. We're time zones away as well. It's a 3-hour time difference. That's
I was gonna
also
say
very
because
difficult.
I imagine even just talking about how the show's written or the direction of it when you both don't live near each other is a
Right,
bit
because
hell.
when we made season one, we are both in the same city. Oh, like, you want to hop in the booth? Yeah,
Evan was a
let's hop in
block
the
away.
booth.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, but what I'm excited about now is it just feels like we're finally hitting a period in our lives where things do feel more stable and we've figured more things out. And a lot of really exciting things are happening in both of our lives. I mean, I'm like, outside of Death by Dying, I do have a day job that's just kind of something to pay the bills, but I also am a published
We all
author.
do.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm also a published author now. I recently had a horror short story published in Devour Journal, which is a very cool publication. And meanwhile, Nico is doing all of this amazing stuff with voice acting. And I don't know if you, I
Yeah, I've
think you
worked.
should you
Yeah, yeah,
should
no,
speak
I've
to
worked.
that.
Yeah, yeah, I've worked behind the scenes on tons of video games in a production capacity to help out with voiceover recording. And then I also recently had my first voiceover credit in the movie theater, which was crazy. It was a bad guys short, DreamWorks Bad Guys, that premiered before Dogman. So I
Oh
voiced some extra
wow!
characters in there. So that was crazy seeing my name in the credits of, on the big screen at the movie theater and hearing my voice come out of the speakers and just thinking to myself, wow, people globally are hearing my voice come out of the speakers. It's crazy. So yeah, navigating all of that on top of doing the project, we've really had to think about, it's kind of had some growing pains. It's going from being that student project to the show also kind of has to become an adult with us as we've been learning about it more. So,
But that's a thing
you
I
know,
wanted to ask about in the sense like when the show when the first season came out, it was like you guys were in college. This was a project you were doing, and now you've sort of been a few years. A lot has happened. Things have changed. Have you listened back to it and gone, "Oh, good lord, what the hell was this bit we were doing here for?"
I think that's like a rite of passage for podcasting of your first few episodes are going to sound like absolute crap. And that's just because you're learning, you're going through stuff. But I think I'm grateful. I feel like I got my stuff out of the way through a lot of my class projects, a lot of like me learning those first few couple of episodes, things I was kind of workshopping out in the audio drama club with people. I think very grateful to collaborate with Evan and finally be like, cool, I've learned a lot. Now I want to make something awesome. So I think, yeah, you can always look back and be like, oh, I probably could have done this better. I probably could have done this. But that's because I've grown a lot over the years. I'm learning more. I'm learning more about audio. And so many people have said the jump in quality from season one to season two, not that season one was bad, but just how sound design heavy season two got and just how intricate it felt. People are like, "Whoa, I felt that," and I was like, "Yeah, that's
I mean,
the
I
years
mean, well,
of
I mean, from the first
experience."
episode with the graveyard, is if you can tell it's like, oh wow, the budget got bigger, like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But
Right. No
that's with
one.
the help of the fundraiser, the network, me being in the industry and understanding a little bit more about, behind the scenes production and everything. The money that we got strictly goes to Death by Dying stuff. So, I mean, it's upgrading plugins or, paying cast, like Evan said. If there's anything that we can do to punch up the show, every penny goes towards that.
Yeah, enhancing the quality, yeah, paying everyone professional rates and everything
Yeah.
like that. It's just like, yeah, we're now, as Nico said, like the show growing with us, finding, how can we treat this like a real thing. And it's kind of cool though. Like I don't think I cringe whenever I've listened back to season 1, because uh, it feels like a time capsule. It feels like looking back in an old yearbook, and you're like, oh yeah, that's where we were
Oh,
at that
it
time in our lives,
feels so nostalgic to me,
Yeah.
and it also does feel cozy to me, where I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, yeah, that's that," "Oh, we had so much fun doing that," or, "Oh, there's that joke," or, "I remember when Evan said this," like,
Yeah, and
and
we
then
have
I
a lot
can
of memories tied to certain things. Like I remember what was happening when we did that thing, made that practical sound effect, or we stayed up all night finishing that episode or whatever, and then we got pancakes when the sun rose, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like that stuff comes rushing back.
Well, I mean, so season 2, how long have you guys been? When did season 2 writing creation start?
Yeah, so perfect timing with the pandemic. The original round of scripts for season 2 were written in 2020. And we, in terms of production, that was majorly slowed down in terms of, I mean, we had to completely reconceptualize, like, home recording really became more normalized post-pandemic.
Mhm.
And so that was something that we needed to figure out. And it was then the years that followed where we really were trying to figure out, how do we, okay, the scripts are there, how do we pull this all together? And the scripts went through rounds of revisions and that kind of thing. And I mean, if I'm being honest, they still are, like we're tweaking and
Oh,
changing
we
things
always tweak as you go on.
right up until the point that we hit publish. We're like
That's actually
refining.
that's a good thing, because well, the talk as well as the talk, like whilst it's a partnership, like in terms of writing episodes and doing the whole thing. Who has, or do any of you have the final, like, full stop? This is it. This is the episode, or is there, even in the recording booth, does it use to tweak it?
I mean, there's definitely improv that happens, or like different
Yeah.
scenes, or if we could punch something up for sure, or even when we're editing, if there's an idea towards the 0 hour, but it feels right and it's worth the effort to change things up a little bit, we will do it.
Yeah.
We're not hardcore married or locked into the script. I mean, obviously we want this, it's all connected. We want everything to flow, but at the end of the day, you're listening, like I said, this is an audio drama. You're listening to it, not reading it. So it
Mm.
has to come through when we're listening to stuff. And sometimes when you're writing, things don't really translate until you say it. And then even when you feel like you've said it, when you place it into the scene, you're like, you know what? I think that other take might work better. Like the way I directed you the first time, that makes a lot more sense. Or you think to yourself, now that you've heard a really impactful end scene, what's going to punch that up? Let's get a pickup of OW being a little bit more confused here, because then we can pay it off later. Because that moment that we crafted was just so good, and the more we go back and kind of tweak things, it'll punch
Yeah.
I
up
mean,
So
is
certain
that is
moments.
that is that confusing? Just to be like, both of you be like, I don't think W sounds of this, but then Evan, you're like, but it's me. Like I'm the one that it's me
no, I
saying
mean,
this.
no, I mean, like, I think I've definitely, it was interesting earlier on in the show. It was a lot harder for me to do the voice. It like hurt my voice physically to
He was
do.
younger.
And then yeah, I was younger. Yeah, my I so I but it became easier over time, and I kind of learned tricks on how to deepen my voice and not hurt my throat while I was doing it, and like that kind of thing. Bring it into my chest instead of bringing the gravel up here. And so, I would be the first to admit that sometimes I'd fall out of the voice, and it's
I must say,
become
did
easier
it
over
feel weird
time.
going back to it? Did it feel weird, like after quite a few years of like, oh, okay, I have
Oh,
to go back, and it's
sure.
just like,
Yeah,
oh,
I had
wait,
to I
how
had
does
to
he
find
sound
it.
again?
Yeah, I had to find it again for sure, and I would be like, I would probably annoy the people who I was living with because I would be like practicing. I'd be like going to the bathroom. I'd be like, "Hello, hello, I am the obituary," just trying to find it again, and so that by the time we were recording, like, I was like, "Okay, I'm back in the pocket." But yeah, I really do think that like the episodes are in flux until we're ready to publish. On the one hand, just because we want the best version of the story, so you discover things over time. I also think we both struggle with a bit of perfectionism, and so someone has to take it away from us eventually. And I think that that person is just, it's our combined efforts of some tiny part of us that's able to go, guys, you gotta let it go. Because we're
Yeah,
just
this
like,
is not worth spending time on,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
This
like,
is
I
not
don't,
this is not worth the sleepless nights.
because you could do it forever.
you
You
could
could
do
do
it
it
forever.
forever.
Literally do it forever. So yeah, but what is interesting is I am actually very grateful in a way for the extra time that's passed. Because although I feel bad that it's taken us so long to give the fans more of this story that they have invested themselves so much in, I think the story has become better for it.
I
I
agree.
think we've matured as storytellers, and what I originally wrote back in 2020 is different than these final episodes that are gradually going to be coming out now. And so
Oh, really? I
it's
mean, did you have to do? Were there rewrites? Did you have
for
to
sure.
look back and think, why did I write this 5 years ago?
Hmm.
It wasn't looking at it saying, why did I write this 5 years ago? I think we looked at it and said, we can take what's here and we have stronger glue. We have
Exactly.
stronger tools at our disposal now. Let's pump it up, amp it up, and connect everything in a more solid way. So we get that overarching, we pay things off in a really gratifying way. We take you on that death by dying roller coaster, but it's bigger and badder. Like Evan said, it's to that quality that we've always wanted it to be. So, if we could have rushed production on it just to get something out, but Evan and I really do have in our heads how we want this to sound, and I think we want to see that through because we have we don't have executives breathing down our necks going, this has to come out. It's Evan and I, so blessing and a curse, right? But now we get to do it the way we want, and I think, like Evan said, the show's going to be better for it because once it's all there, it's definitely going to feel cohesive and something I can look back on just like season one and be really proud of.
Hmm, fair enough. Let's go a little bit into the show. So like with just the show in general, Charlotte, what the hell? Like what?
I sense we're approaching spoiler territory.
Yes, yeah.
Spoiler territory.
Woo,
Really?
woo. Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of
Uh,
Charlotte just like, okay, like I thought this was a nice ending to this. So it's like, no, apparently not. It's like, okay, it's just like very much going back in the scenes of like, yeah, she's just deal with it now. But like, was there just sort of like a you knew this was going to happen, or was it like a fan thing of like, please don't do this to them. We want her back.
yeah, I think, because all of the scripts were finished before we started recording, even for season one. And I think in a messed up way, by the time I was reaching the ending, it felt like the inevitable conclusion. It was where we were headed.
Hmm.
And even I didn't want it to be true. I was like writing it, I'm like, oh no, this is what's gonna have to happen. Like I see
You're
where
just
this has
like,
all been heading, and
I'm
like,
sad. I'm typing this.
and I, you know, people who were reading the scripts where, I was like getting feedback and that kind of thing. I really had to like let go of my own reservations of like hurting my own characters to actually just go for it. It's like, hey, like
But then
the
when I
it,
hear Evan have this visceral reaction to writing it out or just go like, "Oh no, I don't want to do this." That's where I pour the gas and I'm like, "Now you have to more." Because like look at
Yeah.
how you're reacting. You're like recoiling. "Oh no, I don't want
Mhm.
to do that." I'm like, other people are going to feel that. Keep going with that. Like I cry writing it. Like,
Yeah,
just
and I think it really was in the spirit of, despite all of Death by Dying's silliness and wackiness, we were setting out to tell a genuine story about grief.
Yes.
And so Charlotte, in a lot of ways, really is the heart of the story, especially in season one, that this is the grieving person that we're following. And the question is, can she find her way out of that? And
And if you can't, what do you do? Like
yeah,
what happens to a person when you can't
and
grapple
what
with that grief?
happens to the people who are left behind that cared about them deeply. And then that transitions us into season two, where now it's the obituary writer going on that kind of parallel journey
Yeah.
of now he's holding this massive grief that feels almost impossible for him to hold enough space inside of himself for. And now we get to watch, what does he do with that? And so yeah, it
With
just
the heart beating heart of his friend in a jar on his desk, just like
yeah, and keeping her body in the freezer in the back of a butchery, like, really healthy stuff. Like, I think he's
Yeah,
handling it well.
healthy, non-codependent,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good.
I think he's doing fine. I think he'll be fine.
yeah, very
Uh,
not Dexter at all.
no, 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 of course
No,
not.
no,
Of
no.
course not. So yeah, it really is like we try not to shy away from those raw emotions, and so sometimes that means you gotta just go for it, like go for ripping the heart out, pun intended.
Oh, Evan, I'm also just thinking about how she's like the grief support group with the nuns. She was like
Mhm,
happy about being there, and she's like, "No, that got
mhm.
Oh
that
yeah,
you
that episode
you
broke my heart.
you took away something that helped me deal with this pain, even if it was an empathic vampire like enslaving my mind, like
Mhm.
and making me pretend to feel happy. Like people cope in so many different ways. So yeah, in the
Yeah.
Death by Dying world, it's this fantastical empathic vampire nun support group, but
No, but I love that
people
episode because it
do
is sort of like it is OW being like, no, they were feeding off of you. They weren't good people. They were using you. And but then Charlotte's like, yeah, but they were helping me. It's just like even as this, I'm just thinking like you're both kind of understandable in your arguments, but it's just a little bit just like this is a weird hill to die on, Charlotte. Just like vampires
It's
are
like
vampires.
yeah, it's like they're both kind of right and they're both kind of wrong. And
Yeah.
I think we try to kind of thrive on that throughout the show of these, I don't know whether you call them gray areas or just questions. Like we're posing, what if you were to take them out of the, fantastical supernatural context, are very complex questions. What do you do if you're in a situation like this? What do you do when someone you really care about is struggling? What
Well,
about when
especially when he is friends with the Angel of Death, and she's at season five like, I can help you bring her back. And he's like, no, this is what she wanted. So there's like a weird sort of relationship he has. Like, he could bring people back, but it's just like, no, if they want to die, that is their choice. Just like I can understand why she likes him. I think.
yeah, but now we're seeing in season two a little more complicated than that, right? And
Yes, very much, very more
he's having
complicated.
a hard time letting go, and he's going to some pretty extreme measures in, I'd say, similar ways to Charlotte excusing, like, oh, these emotion parasites are sucking my negative emotions out, and like that's a good thing, right? OW's now kind of has his version of being in Delulu land, and like kind of like, yeah, it's fine that I'm doing this, and I'm doing this for this
I mean,
reason, and I can probably bring her back. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah,
well
yeah.
So
that's
Oh yeah, yeah. That's not a thing to me. I can do this, right? It's just yeah.
yeah.
So
talking about how like dealing with someone going through that kind of grief. The most recent episode that came out,
bound to be.
Bound to Be died. I was telling Evan, man, this feels less action heavy than the other than May died, and oh wait, I thought he died. Does this still? I was getting a little nervous. I'm like, does this still play? It feels very tame compared to the other two, but if you listen through it, I think like the butcher has these secret sauce lines where he goes, "Hey, are you okay? Like crazy stuff just happened to you. You could lie down or something. Like you." And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." And then it is a normal, like silly little obituary tale, kind of akin to why it died. That's something's going on in the town, but you can tell by the end of that episode, not okay.
Mm. I do love that you kind of made Butcher the normal one there. Just like
Yeah,
of
right,
all the
right. Yeah,
characters,
we
he's just
kind of trade off like who's the straight man and who's the one who are like you're not
But
doing
that's part of the
something
process
crazy.
of that
Yeah.
grief too. You got to keep it together, even when or you think you have to keep it together. You can't let go, and you have to be the obituary writer of Crestfall, Idaho. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kind of push all that down for a moment.
And talk about things being in flux. The original script of Bound to Be did not contain that ending scene where he interrupts himself and goes and hides in another room and cries and then comes back like everything's fine. Because Nico and I were in conversation, we're like, this episode's fun, it's funny, like the characters are their usual quirky selves, but it is just like so light. And where is that thematic through line with the Charlotte stuff that's going on in the background? And I realized that it was to our benefit that on the surface this episode feels so light and silly. But we know that actually OW is like putting up this front and he's even lying to himself that he's okay and just throwing himself into his work and trying to be distracted and I in the edit I laid out the original draft. That's when I don't even know that I told Nico I was doing it. I added the scene, like I sound designed the little thing where the chair, he goes, excuse me for a moment, chair scooches out, footsteps, door closes, and then music starts playing, and then the crying comes in. And when Nico heard it
Then
for the first time, he was like, oh my God.
yeah, I
Like,
I
was
mean,
like, should we even do this? And then that's my producer brain kicks in, and I'm like, if I'm saying that, we have to do it.
mhm.
it was a little bit of a surprise because I mean, like you said, Barnaby is a bit more light-hearted in the
Yeah.
sense of like it's silly, and then in the end, you sort of hear like, oh yeah, I forgot he's dealing with some stuff. It's like,
And
okay,
it's a reminder that he's an unreliable narrator. He always sounds so sure of himself and the way things work, but then what we're seeing is different than what he's saying.
yeah.
And in a crazy way, I'll almost say OW duped Evan and I through that episode, being like, yeah, he seems fine. Oh,
Oh, yeah,
It's
exactly.
like he's
seems
fine. Oh,
fine.
he's not fine.
Mhm.
He's not fine.
And Nico had this fabulous note that I think originally the way I laid that end scene out, he didn't go into another room to cry. And Nico was like, no, he's trying to hide this even from us as the listeners.
Yeah.
So, oh, door closed, muffled. He's like, he's not doing this in
It's
front
in
of us.
private.
And
Yeah.
this is a private moment and it just speaks to how he's repressing things.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So let's get into this a bit more. So episode 8 has recently come out.
Mhm.
How many episodes of season 2 are there?
Yeah, so there are 3 episodes of season 2 out right now so
Yeah.
far. And then I believe, if I have the count right, there
Total
there
of
will
8,
be
right?
there are a total of 8. Yeah. So does that make it 5 more or 6
Yes,
more?
5 more.
5 more.
5
Okay.
more. Yeah.
So there are 5 more that we're in the process of working on. Yeah.
Any hint of when the next one comes out?
I will say that, what's really interesting in this speaks to the journey that Nico and I have been on in trying to work on the show over the years is that Bound to Be and the next episode that is going to come out have really been in this near state of completion for so long. And what it needed was the final mix, just making everything sound consumable, like actually like not, like the volumes were all off and everything, and we just needed to be cleaned up, sound design, bring the
Polished.
spaces,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and polish it off. So I will say the next episode, not too far off. Keep your eyes on our social media. That's where announcements will be, and as soon as we're ready to announce the next release date, it'll be there.
Let's just say
And
you won't have to wait 3 years.
yeah, you will not that you will
It
not
is
have to wait
it
that
is
long.
much closer than you guys think, so.
Yeah,
Well, then
and then
let's give the
that kind of
audience then some bits
yeah.
of tease. What can people expect from the rest of season 2?
Oh. Oh.
Great
Oh,
question.
I don't wanna
I
it's,
know.
I'm gonna how's this for a tease? It's only just begun with the next episode, I think.
I call that a rubbish tease. Give me more.
Yeah, all right. I got a little something for you. So after the next episode, that kind of completes part 1, right? And we kind of intentionally split this show into, and I mean, originally we really wanted all of this to consistently come out like around the same time. Didn't work out that way, but that'll kind of complete part one, and then we enter part two with the back four. And I guess what I'll say is part one, we wanted to, even with the emotions going on and everything, we wanted to have some fun. This is like the fun and games. We're getting almost like standalone obituaries, going on some adventures. We're getting to know different characters in the town. And what you're not seeing yet is that how we're placing all of these characters and building their relationships right now are us setting up dominoes to knock over when we enter part two.
And
And
there's a couple of characters that have maybe got not gotten enough screen time in the past, or little to no screen time at all, that you will definitely be hearing from. Some for the
Okay.
first time, others you've heard a little bit, and they will have a more prominent role. And I'm very excited to.
yeah,
I
but
cannot unveil it, but
there
yes.
are many twists and turns in store, and I would say don't get too comfortable.
Fair enough. Nico, now that you are sort of diving into the world of voice acting, have you put yourself into this finally?
You mean Death by Dying, the
Yeah,
as a voice actor?
yeah. Have you actually voiced
Um,
yourself?
Nico is half the cast,
Oh, damn.
like
so
from season one.
I told
Oh,
Evan
yeah,
when
that's
we were
probably right. I
working.
really need to. Yeah, I need to look more into that.
No,
Well,
hey,
I
hey,
mean,
the
it's
fact that you're
a
saying that lends to
mhm.
my vocal ability here, because I told Evan, I was like, listen, I didn't feel vain. I was like, I would love to audition for all these characters, but I'm just because I'm helping you produce this thing and put it together, I'm not saying I'm gonna be every male voice in this thing. I want you to tell me if I'm doing a good job as these people. I will audition like everyone else, and if you like what I'm doing, I'll do it. And yeah,
This is how much I did research because normally I'm very good at research of the characters. Just like, oh, I should have seen that more. All right, my bad.
but
No.
I
I think it's a compliment though because Nico's range is insane, and I always call him the man of a thousand voices.
So I play the butcher, I play Chester the goat, I play
Oh
Leroy the
yeah,
landlord.
I'm hearing
Two
it
of
now. Of course, you sound like the damn butcher. Now I hear it after an hour and a half of talking to you.
I'm offended. And what
He plays yeah, he plays Leroy. He plays Earl
Earl James?
Jones in the second episode, the
Yeah,
kind of the alcoholic academic, and I mean plenty of little, I mean just crazy bit parts too, like in the
the
first
Mrs.
episode of
Shambles
season.
dog in
Oh,
Wild Side. I
yeah,
guess
a lot of the animals. In episode one of season two, he's Maggie and Marcus the Maggot, who are having their own little soap opera drama.
and talk about things that get added into the episode. So Evan did not write that scene, and he had just said, "We don't like to think about the social lives of maggots, and and what they might be doing in someone's dead body." And then he continued his narration, and I just had that idea while I was editing it. I made a giant space in between him saying, "We don't like to think about the social lives of maggots," and the rest of his narration, and just went to town on this scene and took my microphone and went, "Hey Maggie, I love you, Maggie." Just and just had
I
them do this
remember that bit.
whole
It's just like Cementia, just like this is so weird. It's just like
that
Yeah. And I
that
mean,
was all Nico, baby. That was
yeah,
just
like
me going
imagine,
crazy.
damn, you
imagine,
you are a good voice actor because I did not know that was you.
Yeah.
yeah, just imagine that, like, we've already kind of laid out the episode, and Nico's, he's busting out his mic, he's doing these insane voices, and then I believe a lot of the sound effects in that scene were also practical. Like, we didn't lift them from, like a free sound effect website or something. Like, he was like, he set a dining room table of dishes because there's this scene where the maggots are having dinner, and so like, you're hearing the clinks and the knife hitting. So just like went to town creating this whole
Oh
little
my god, you
world.
went all like 1930s sound effects on it, and just
Oh
like
yeah.
having everything on there. That's impressive, man.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's definitely not the way we don't do that with all of the sound effects, but we do consistently do that with sound effects throughout all the episodes. We'll
Ooh.
add practical stuff.
I'll
what's
do
the
a little
hardest practical effect?
I'm gonna let Nico answer that.
I love getting really creative with it. I was gonna bring up a sound design thing that I loved, and then the harder. Okay, I'll answer your question first. The harder thing was getting the voice of the deranged deer. And it's a combination of, I think, my voice and Do I want to spoil it, Evan? Should I spoil
I
what that
think
is?
you should. It's just it's
All
such a
right.
great story.
You're hearing it here first, folks. You know that rubber chicken that you can squeeze that goes, and it has this like crazy yelling
Yeah.
voice. I essentially twisted that until, because then the air would escape from it at a slower rate. So you'd hear it go, and
Oh no, Zoom
I
Zoom is filtering out
Zoom did not
some of
help
these
you
oh
there, but we'll
noises,
let you
so it's
have
not
it.
coming through.
Now,
oh man, okay. Well,
you're just going to listen to the show if you want to get the full
exactly.
effect.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I pitched it down and added reverb, did a bunch of things, layered that on top of my voice as well. And so it's just little things like that to, I always like adding human elements into the synthetic or like organic things as well. But that was one of the ones I'm like, what are these guys going to sound like? Because I just don't want to scream into a microphone. It needs to have some element that I can't produce. You can't produce with the human voice, you
Yeah,
know. And
it's
I
just
love
so
that.
funny that
I love how much you went into it. It was just going like, it can't just be a normal scream. It has to be, yeah, come from you. It also has to sound like a deer. Like,
right,
right,
because I want people to go, what is that? Like what
right.
kind of creature would
What the
produce
heck
such a
is that
sound,
thing?
One of
Yeah.
my favorite sound design things I did though was in the beginning of season 2 to really set the scene of, again, spoiler alert, to really set the scene of the funeral
hmm.
at the beginning of that episode. I wanted us to get into the space and settle into it like it was a cold morning, it was autumn, and none of the background sound effects of like the air or the trees were really doing it for me at all. I felt like I had to set the tone. So I took a Target shopping bag, just like a plastic shopping bag, and I would move it up and down on my mic and added a bunch of reverb, and that kind of started to sound like leaves rustling. And then I would
Oh.
even do some of the voice of the wind, just kind of like, I don't know if it'll pick up on Zoom, but me just going, kind of breathing, doing a little whistling thing, tone that down a little bit. And I really just wanted to make it feel cold, hollow. I want that empty feeling that you get. I want it to feel cold, dry, and all of that whole like feeling perceived through the environment. And then
No, no.
Evan being really sad, saying, it was, the morning of the funeral. And it's nice and slow. And then we just paint the scene and you're just feeling it in your chest, like, damn.
But then cut
No.
to Nico's rustling a plastic shopping bag,
Supposed to go
like
At my parents' house in Chicago during the pandemic. Yeah.
yeah.
I will say, for anyone who does that, I mean, because you do the transcripts, and for anyone out there, you should look at the transcripts because I do look back at them sometimes, and the bits you do in between them of like, because even like with bit
That's all
number
Evan.
6, you put a little bit. It was like we realized the violin music we're listening to is Concerto number 23 in C minor. It sounds really good for being played off of a dead possum. Just like random moments where it's just like that shouldn't even be in there. It's just like okay, I
Mhm.
love that you even gave the transcript people a chance to look at it for something funny.
Yeah, I really I've always cared about having transcripts for accessibility purposes, but I think I also cared about having reading the transcripts to be their own experience. That it's not just that because then it becomes a question of like, okay, if you're someone who would benefit from reading the transcript, how do I best describe sound effects and music and that kind of thing? And I found the best way to do that was to explain them in the same way that the tone of the show. And so there are Easter egg jokes tucked into the sound effect and music descriptions, and even some of the like descriptors for the delivery or tone of some of the characters and that kind of thing, because it all lends to communicating the vibe, the feeling, like, okay, I understand, like, even if you're not listening to it, this is what it sounds like, this is what, and so yeah, it's I always kind of recommend, it's like
So
a
fun.
little Easter egg scene
No,
Easter
but
egg
that's why I
thing that
love it. It's a thing to sort of like to have alongside if you want to go full
hmm
deep dive to this to be like, okay, what level of Easter eggs did you put in here this time? Yes,
right,
have
so
some fun.
there's even more jokes in there.
So just to also give other people more fun things, have you got more stories from season 2 onwards? Like, have you planned it out, or is it just right now season 2 is it?
We're Definitely right now, our sights are focused on finishing what we started with season 2. And we've, like Evan said, we've been working on it this whole time in the background for sure. Every penny from that fundraiser, every penny from the Patreon goes into finishing right now season 2 and also delivering some of the Indiegogo perks that went along with that as well. We have not forgotten about those. But Evan and I definitely have had discussions on, okay, what would happen after season 2? Should we do another season 3? Should we mix it up a little bit? What do we want it to be, you know, episodic again or whatever? And so right now, definitely focused on season 2, but I think a goal in the future, because season 2 took so long, we definitely want to find a way to make it more consistent. So I will say that. So nothing, can't confirm what the future of Death by Dying looks like or holds, other than
Fair enough. Fair
these
enough.
season 2 will be completed. And if there is more, we want people to have more of it consistently. I will say that. So finding a way to be able to do that for sure.
I think the level of fandom that you have, people are gonna want more regardless. But like, is it gonna feel weird of like when season 2 is done, this weight off your shoulders, be like, oh, it's finally done after all these years.
I think, yeah, I've always thought about that because it's definitely something in the background. Not to sound dramatic, but it's something I wake up with, being like, season two's not done yet, and we we fundraised for it forever ago. But to Evan's credit, it's just me and him, right? And I love working on the show, so I think it's less of a weight off my shoulders and more I'm gonna feel so. Even releasing Bound to Be after that hiatus, I felt so proud of us and the show, and happy that the fans got more. I'm a fan of things. I'm a lover of nerddom. And so I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, they get more of what they love. This is like me getting a new video game from a series that's been, dormant for a while or something. Like, this is a big deal. So more than
Now,
anything, I think I'll be super feeling
now,
just
now,
accomplished
now,
and proud of myself.
now I'm just gonna ask, what game are you enjoying right now? Hang on, I'll be right back. I'm
Oh,
gonna
sure, sure.
my door person is coming, which is not helpful. Hang on.
No worries. Brief intermission. Boom,
All right, I'm
boom,
back.
boom.
So, sorry, what game are you playing recently?
Right now, I picked up the new Katamari game. If you know of that series, you play as a little guy
Dude,
who rolls around a ball collecting trash. So you
yeah,
start
I know it.
collecting little clothes pins and thumbtacks on a desk, and then it turns into rolling up your Katamari. This ball gets so big, you start to roll up people and, things and desks to the point where it gets even bigger, and you're rolling up buildings. And, it's just
God.
so fun and quirky. So, and a new game in that series. Oh my gosh, exactly what I said. A new game in that series hasn't come out for years. So that was very exciting that we got one.
Well, I just kept thinking because, like you said, you looked at games in terms of narration, storyteller. Do you know Telltale?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, and then their stuff,
Um,
which is very much like the ones that basically created the idea of a story game.
yes, that those games were very influential. Telltale created the Walking Dead series. That I've talked about it with some friends of mine. We think that game is better than the show. Um,
Thank God someone else agrees with me. I needed to hear that.
the season 1 of that game and the following seasons too, and how they've wrapped everything up and Clementine's story and all that. But oh man, season 1 is one of the best like pieces of media. It's
It's
top
better
tier.
than the show. It should have been the show. Yeah.
It's so emotional, and the fact that you can choose certain things, and then the people in your group, you can have everyone die or everyone live. Like, that's crazy too. And a very Death by Dying adjacent type of story. Telltale has a series called The Wolf Among Us, where it's a
Yes.
bunch of fairy tale creatures in a detective noir realm of things, and that's they balance that idea of the fantastical and the grounded beautifully. Where
Oh,
you
it's so fantastical, and I mean I love that show so much. Like,
yeah,
because I'm playing their new one, Dispatch, which is a superhero workplace comedy. Just the blend of like, because I do now, because when I just listen to your stuff, I do sort of feel like, oh, it's like the inspirations of what you guys, because like Terry Pratchett's in there, Douglas Adams is in there, of like the quirky British humor, but also just like the fantastical meeting the mundane. That's very much the game stuff, which I like.
yeah.
Um, all right, well, so we're going to go into the final 10 minutes, which means I'm going to go into the rapid fire questions. This isn't going to be like immediately have to answer, but this is the stuff where it's like people are going to want to know the answers to this. So I want to give people the chances. So
I didn't know there was going to be a pop quiz, Chris. What's
no, it's not going to be that hard. But I mean, it shouldn't be that hard for you since there are only 8 episodes. It's not like there's 200 of these things. So let's get into it. I mean, I'll expect an answer from each of you. Yeah. But okay, so easiest episode to write.
Ooh.
Oh man. Okay. The easiest episode to write is the one that's going to come out next. And I think it really speaks to sometimes you gotta just go with your gut instead of overthinking it. That one came up
I'm
very naturally.
Evan might disagree, but for me, I'm gonna say the Autopsy Turvy,
Mm,
which I that was one of the episodes that I really had my hands in the most because it was the butcher narrating, and that thing was just improv to life. So
yeah.
that's my
Okay, I
answer.
like that very
That
Yeah,
one
much.
we
Okay,
really properly co-wrote together. Yeah.
yeah.
okay. And on the flip side, hardest episode to work on.
Hmm. I think I'm going to say May died, which was the
Ooh,
second episode of season
Season two.
2, because it's not that it was the hardest one to write, but we were in post-production. We had already announced the release date, and we discovered a couple pretty significant plot holes. And
Oh,
neither of us were like, we were like, how did we miss this? Like we went over the script so many times and we put it together and we like recorded it, and a couple like really glaring things jumped out at us, and we were like fixing it last minute. And I'm really happy with how the episode turned out, but there was some crunch time with that of just trying to like bandage the story so it all made sense.
I think I repressed that so much that you just reminded me of it. So my answer is now changed to May died. You are
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
well, but fans will appreciate that then. Um, okay. Uh, the toughest character to write for.
Ooh, wow, fantastic question. Um, I'm gonna say, I think I'm gonna say Charlotte,
I agree.
because what she says and what she chooses to do is so important, not only to the plot, but to the emotional core of the show.
Okay.
And so a lot of thought goes into her decisions, her reactions, and it's just so vitally important in a way where I feel a lot looser about the other characters. Like the
Yeah.
butcher, I'm like, and then he's gonna say whatever Nico says in the booth, you
Yeah.
know?
Half of
Like,
his lines are me improving.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine a lot of this just like, and Nico just goes nuts. Just like,
Yeah.
sure thing.
Right, yeah. So like, yeah, certain characters like Pastor Jeff or Pastor Jane, a lot of improv, any of Nico's characters. But for Charlotte, like, I don't think there was any improv in there, because it was like she needs to say these things and it needs to be just
Yeah.
right, so that when, when the worst possible scenario happens, uh, we kind of landed on the right thematic messaging with her decisions.
Okay. Flip side, easiest character to write for.
The obituary writer.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
just
think that.
I'm so he's just another side of me now. I can just, it's like I turn it on like a light switch. Like I can just get going on him. I'm almost more like just asking him. I'm like, what do you want to say? And then he takes the keyboard. So
Okay.
For me, it's
Uh,
definitely the butcher, just because, like I said,
yeah,
that's
your
very
characters.
much
Yeah,
me.
fair enough.
Evan, like you said, Evan will sometimes go, I just imagine you'll say something like it'll spill out of you at some point.
Fair enough. Okay. Favorite line or joke?
Oh,
Ooh, wow.
I quote so many things from the show
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis and don't even realize I'm doing it.
Hmm.
Pastor Jeff has some legendary sermons. The junk drawer.
The junk drawer is that actually was originally in Gary Died, and we loved it so much we kept it in Wyatt Died as well as the formal first episode. Yeah, any of Pastor Jeff's stuff. Um,
Oh, okay. I'm gonna make my answer Pastor Jane's sermon about the milkman at the end of Bound to Be. that just like had me crying. Like I had to get 2% goat milk for the fam, and
Yeah, her delivery on saying, "When I was 9 years old, I was extorted by my neighborhood milkman, Jerry Evans." I mean, we lose it every time because of the vo
Just the long monologue of like, oh, this is how it. Okay, that's good. Let's go
and
on.
yeah, yeah.
even
Yeah, like,
to narrow it down even further in that sermon, she goes, "What was I supposed to do? It would render us calcium deficient."
And it's like one thing like when I write these lines and I know they're ridiculous, but then every voice actor, like Pastor Jane's voice actor, amazing performer, Simran Ball, she brought that character to life in ways that weren't in the script, and I think that's where we really value the collaborative element of making the show, that the voice actors bring stuff that like I couldn't
We
imagine in
couldn't
my
even
wildest
write.
dreams, and it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. So there are so many things, jokes that I do love, and we quote things all the time. But it's I was thinking about this the other day. It's kind of funny. Sometimes the things that we quote are so innocuous and like almost barely specific to the show. Like no one would know we were quoting it.
Because
Nico and
we've
I say
heard
to
it
each
a
other,
thousand times, a
it's like
thousand
the way
times.
something said. Like so, and I say to each other all the time, who knows? Who
Who knows?
knows? And
oh
it's
god,
like comes up so often because it just works in conversation so well. And oh, and the other thing that we say a lot is Leroy. There's this scene towards the end of season one where OW is trying to get away with putting a dead body in his trunk,
yeah,
and he's trying to convince Leroy that the body's alive. Like, oh, my friend's just tired or whatever, and he likes going in the trunk. And Leroy says, "We all have our things, don't
oh my
we?"
god.
We
And
quote
so
that a lot.
it's those lines where we say them a lot because it just like it just works in conversation so well. So
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, they're so hard to pick. I mean, I still have like the first interaction between Shots and OW in my head of just like Charlotte coming to him, and then the OW being like, "Forgive me, but I haven't got past the murder bit yet."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also like just in general like this a reoccurring joke. I love that the condolences are advertisements. I think
Yeah,
that's
no, I
it
love
never
that.
gets old, and we always try and do
Oh,
them a little bit
Don-
differently,
my
like
favorite condolence is Don's Dinner Bucket sends their condolences. They say $2 eggs on Tuesdays.
and like that one was like, I wrote that line, but then Nico gave me the direction of sounding so sad. Just like absolutely just like as if I was saying something really heartfelt about the deceased, like I think we did that again with or no, it might have been this one where it was a like Lulu's hair salon, and they say we only do perms. So we've done that a couple times of just like, it's so heartfelt, but they're advertisements. I
It's like
mean, like,
I need to sound serious. $2 off on free eggs.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think one of our favorite jokes from the most recent episode in Bound to Be Died, where we just lost it every single time, was the condolence from Sharon's Shoe Emporium,
So
where they
good.
just sound so angry about the fact that they have shoes. And yeah, we lose it every time. We had shoes yesterday. We had shoes today. We'll have them tomorrow.
Yeah. Come on, get these damn shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, and no, I'll make this the second one. So, favorite podcast other than yours?
I'm gonna shout out Fox and Stallion. Huge fan of the show. I believe they're also on the Fable and Folly network. Um, it's just so funny. The concept is there's Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, and just down the street, a few doors down, there's another detective duo
Yeah.
who are trying their best, and it is just so funny. And the creators, Lauren and Ian, we've gotten to know them quite well, and so I just very proud of them, and want to give their show a shout out because it's just so funny.
Okay.
I don't listen to as much audio drama as I should, admittedly, but I want like kind of same way in a similar vein. Uh, when I first listened to the Far Meridian, it was just so cool. So that deserves a shout out. And one of the podcasts that I listen to regularly, though, is What Went Wrong, which is a talk show
Yeah.
about the creation of movies and kind of the crazy trials and tribulations they had to go through in order to get made. So I love hearing about the behind the scenes of how
Okay,
great.
we got about 2 minutes left, so this is going to be the last question, really hard.
All right.
Favorite episode.
Can I cheat and say the next one?
Fine.
The next one coming out, because just to hype it up even more, because oh man.
You damn
That
cheat, but fine. Yeah, I'll let you have
It really is the like jokes per second of this episode is just insane. But
Okay.
I won't cheat. I will say that my favorite is Lillian died. I think
Okay.
it sets so much up, and it creates even more than why it died. I think it sets the promise of the show, like not only from the Charlotte story perspective, but also the tone, like it just that sense of creeping around this small spooky town at night. Like I think that's that's the aesthetic of the show.
if I'm
Fair
not
enough.
cheating, I'll say the first episode of season 2, Wait, I Thought He Died, because I just love the tone, how dark it is. I love what we did with the sound design. I love the characters in it. I love the absurdity in it, the deer, how spooky we get underneath the graveyard. I love everything about that episode. I love that vibe and that tone.
All right, guys, then thank you so much. Then that is going to be the end of the show. So remember, everyone else out there, if you want to listen to these guys, want to listen to this thing, it will be on YouTube on Round Tuesday on CS Reacts. But do go listen to Death by Dying podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere out there. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this show. It's been fantastic talking to you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
this
thank
was
you.
such
Likewise.
a pleasure.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much for having us.
on.
And we'll see you guys next week with a brand new show, whatever we do. So thanks so much, guys. Take care. Bye.